Hey everybody, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where I answer the questions that my clients and you have about your health and fitness goals. And I've got a really good one today, and I'm picking this one because I'm hearing this quite a bit from people, some of it people that I know, and some of it just random questions through Facebook Messenger, but I figured it was something that we really should talk about. We're going to talk today about how to get your family on board with your health goals, whether that is trying to get your significant other interested in participating with you, maybe, living a healthier lifestyle, or whether it's trying to get your kids to eat a little bit healthier, which I know is a task all in itself, or whether it's just having them help you and support you in your goals and where you're trying to go. And I know that all those things are a little bit difficult, so we're going to approach all of those just a little bit because I've been through it. I was the one that started on the fitness journey originally, and it took a while for my family to get on board. So let's talk a little bit about how to do that and what the most effective way to do that is. So the first thing I want to talk about today is that you cannot force your family or your spouse or your significant other to do something they are not ready or willing to do. More than once I've had spouses or significant others get a hold of me and say, what can I do to get my wife more interested in participating in healthier options? And what I'm going to tell you is you can't. That is not something that you can force them to do. Even if it works for a little while, at some point she is going to become frustrated with you and maybe resent you and the fact that you're trying. And I get that most of the time it's really with love and with caring, respect that they want you to just, they want that their wives or significant others to feel better or to have more energy. But guys, trust me, right? She's going to take it wrong. She's going to be angry. She's going to be frustrated. One of the biggest benefits of having gone through this myself is, fortunately, my husband was super supportive. Now, there were times where we had to have some really good talks, and some of those talks had to be with tears because I really needed him to understand where I was coming from and where I was going. But it wasn't him trying to force me. It was actually me just trying to get some support. Now, what I mean by that is, my husband has been great. He's loved me unconditionally. He loved me when I was, tiny when we got married. He loved me when I got bigger, even up to 210 pounds. He was amazing. But, he really realized at some point that he needed to be my cheerleader. And that happened because, he knows me well. He knows that, when I have a meltdown, that chocolate can help. And he would hide chocolate around the house so that when Melissa would have a meltdown, hey, baby, I've got some M&Ms for you. And that would make me feel great for briefly all of 5 seconds. And then I'd, of course, do this whole guilt thing and be miserable and think I'm a bad person. So, I find it really interesting when people come to me and say, I feel like I'm a bad person. I'm like, I get it, but don't, because that's not what it's about, nor is it going to help you get where you want to go. So back to the task at hand. What I'm telling you is that you cannot force someone to do this, whether it's, you're trying to get your girlfriend to come to the gym with you, ask, don't give up on that. But don't be offended if they're just not ready for it. There's some definite commitment that's going to have to be involved, and you have to wait till they're ready for that. For me, I just needed to get sick and tired of being sick and tired, just tired of feeling like no energy and feeling crappy on a regular basis, and also watching some of the illnesses that roll through my family that I'm genetically predisposed to. It was really eye-opening, and I knew that at some point that if I didn't do something about my own health, I was going to have some issues. So again, it's not your choice to make. You can be supportive. You can, like I said, don't give up and don't stop asking, but don't be offended if they're not ready for that at that point. You've got to wait till they can set their own goals, and then it has to be on their terms because, like I said, nobody wants to be forced to do something that they're not ready for. Although there are things that you can do to help support that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So, make sure that you are patient. It takes time. For me, I found that I had to be an example. It took a while, and first it was just me, learning that I had to be consistent and that I had to go to the gym, and I worked with a trainer, and then I had to learn how to eat better because, I had already tried the exercising it off. Why is my body not changing? I'm doing 30 minutes of cardio every day. So there was a lot I had to learn on my own, and then my family watched me. So first, next my husband jumped on board, then my kids started to pay attention, and now, they're all involved on varying levels depending on what's going on in their life, and sometimes they fight me a little bit on it, but at least they know, because I had to educate myself, thereby I started to educate them. Now they get to make their own choices. And of course, my youngest is 11, so it's we're still working there on making sure to implement some things, but they've watched me be unhealthy, they've watched me be healthy, and they see what works better for my life. So again, don't be afraid to keep trying. Just don't get mean over it. Don't force it. It's gonna be something they're gonna have to do. One of the other things, if you're just trying to get their support, you've got to ask for it. Like I said, at some point it had to come with tears and say, I'm really trying to do this. And when you're bringing out the chocolate when I'm having a meltdown, you're not being helpful, and I need you to, even if I'm begging for it, not do that. Like, if I'm going to do that, make me go get it myself, right? Make me leave the house and go do it, so that there's an extra step involved. But I had to ask for help. One of the things that I did initially, because I learned that if it was in the house, I would probably eat it. So we instituted a rule here where, that's fine. If you want it, you can have it, but don't bring it home. And it's worked very, very well. And the older that the kids have gotten, and now that my 18-year-old daughter has been competing for just over a year, she understands the benefit of that. And so it goes both ways. So even when I'm not competing or doing something specific, she asks, please don't bring junk home, because of course then it becomes a problem. Not only that, it's just kind of mean. I've had situations where I've had clients where they're at work and somebody's brought in pizza to work for the day, and it's a real struggle to overcome that craving or wanting to participate, whether it's socially or whether it just sounds good. So I get it. And coworkers, that's a whole different level. I've seen some interesting things on that end of the deal. I've seen coworkers actually be really mean. And I don't think that they meant it mean, but I've seen them do some really mean things that I don't think they thought through before they did it. So I get it. Sometimes it takes a little bit of training, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whether it's your coworkers. And there's actually friends that don't ask me to do anything anymore because I don't go out. I'm not saying that I don't ever eat, because I'm a total foodie, and when I'm not I'm not working on a goal, but my philosophy is that if I'm going to eat it, if I have to work it off, it better be the most amazing food I've ever had. And I want the atmosphere to be amazing as well. I don't want to just go down to the local fast food joint and eat garbage. I want to actually try a new cuisine or do something that's really fun and different. So I've my priorities when it comes to food has completely changed. For you, if it's your goal, you're going to have to get used to being the odd one out. Whether that's, I've gone to family functions and I'm the only one that takes along my own food, which initially people were really aggravated by and annoyed with, but now I've been doing it for 8-9 years and they're used to it, so they don't really say much. And then if I do participate in whatever it is, the family dinner or whatnot, they'll kind of look at me and I'll say, no, I planned for this. This is great. I can have what I want tonight. But it's initially because you're not, especially if you're at a family event and it's a big deal and that's something that you do as a tradition, you're going to have to set yourself with some limits, because otherwise, you're going to get the whole, how come you're not eating my food, or, blah, 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 blah. I get it. But you may have to have a conversation with them before you go to the event. Be okay being different. My thought process at this point is, I like how I look and feel. I don't really care how I don't want them to be offended because I'm not eating their food, but they know that I have a purpose that's a little bit bigger. My obstacles do not overcome the situation. I want to be where I want to be, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. So they know that I have a purpose, and usually I've shared with them my goals and where I'm going, so they're not surprised by the fact that I'm not going to join in for whatever it is. So you can be prepared. If you're going out with friends, I have no problem looking up the restaurant, looking up their food, making some good healthy choices before I get there so I'm prepared. Or maybe in a situation with friends, I might say, okay, can we go somewhere that has, first of all, usually a sit down, because it's hard to eat healthy at a fast food restaurant. But I'll have already done some pre-work planning and say, can we go to Texas Roadhouse? I can actually eat there. I can have a steak and some veggies, versus, somewhere with like Olive Garden with pasta. that doesn't work for me almost ever. And if I'm going to have Italian food, it's not going to be at the Olive Garden. No offense, our Olive Garden. Or at parties, you might have a conversation with the host. What are you having? Is there anything that I can bring so that there's food I can have? Don't be offended by it. At some point they're going to be used to it. They may even be impressed by it. And if they really take offense at it, I'm probably not going to show up at their party anyway. So at this point in life, I am at an age where I don't really care what other people think. I'm happy to be there. I want to be their friend. But if they're going to be offended by my goals, then that's honestly not my problem. So be okay being a little bit odd. And I've been known to bring food with me to restaurants. And most places don't have a problem with that because, first of all, they look at me and they go, oh, well, she must be doing something. But the other thing is make it easier to be healthier in your household. So although you cannot force people to eat better, you cannot force them to exercise, you can set your household up for success by cleaning out junk and then don't bring it home. I think one of the most frustrating things I hear is, well, I get those, cheese crackers for my kids. And my next question to them is, so what you're telling me is that you want your children to deal with the same health issues that you have, hence diabetes, high blood pressure, or whatever. And they're like, well, no. I'm like, then you're setting them up for that situation. Now, I'm not saying you never have those things in the house, but that's not something that you should regularly load your shelves with, especially if you struggle to keep your hands out of it. Now, I'm in a position where that doesn't really bother me. We have some cereal on the shelf for once in a while, and that's not a problem for me. Cold cereal is not tempting to me. Now, donuts would be a different ball game, so we don't put donuts in my household. But teaching your children and giving them healthier options, and I'm going to give you some tips and ideas on that in just a second. But I highly recommend that you do a cleanse of your kitchen. Get rid of things that don't work for what you're trying to accomplish. Get rid of the crackers and the breads and the junk food. And if you are struggling to throw it away, because I grew up in that era of, there's starving children in other countries, give it away. Give it to a food bank. Although I know that that's not exactly, I don't really want to give people that don't have anything crappy food. At least you won't be eating it, and unfortunately that's not something you can control anyway. But get it out of your household, throw it away, and really institute that don't bring it home rule. Different people in my family had different goals and not had goals, and I have opened somebody's truck and found donut boxes, and you know what, that's their choice. Again, I can't control that, but it helps me when I'm trying to accomplish something specific. The other great idea is, let your children have choices. Now, you're still the parent, right? So it doesn't have to be a choice between something healthy and something crappy. Give them a choice between two healthy options. Hey, do you want a piece of fruit or a vegetable? Or do you want a piece of string cheese? Usually if you allow them to make some choices, or even as you're teaching them how to make healthier choices, let them help you plan. If they have ownership in the situation and in the choices, they are more likely to follow through and actually participate and eat those foods if you allow that. Now, should you cut out all their favorite foods? I don't think that's the best idea, only because if they feel like they are sacrificing, if you're too hardcore in that, they're gonna sneak off and eat those things anyway. You've heard all the people that said, yeah, my parents didn't allow us to have sugar or junk or candy in the house, and so I would go off to school and trade with my friends and eat a bunch of garbage. So again, my goal is to teach my children the choices and the consequences. If you eat a lot of sugar, you're not gonna feel as good. You might feel bloated. You might be having a little fat gain around your midsection. So even my youngest son for the last few years can tell, he can look at something and go, that does not have enough protein in it. So even if his choices aren't perfect at 11, he knows what a good choice is and what not a good choice is, and why we're eating protein. He knows those things because I've educated him. And those were things that I wasn't educated in until I got older and had to educate myself. So keep that in mind. I do want to share with you really quick. I went today to do something and I picked up a pamphlet at the store at the pharmacy, and it was talking about diabetic nutrition, and I wanted to scream. Can I just tell you, they're still promoting garbage, like eat plenty of whole grains. I'm like, oh my gosh, but those are carbohydrates. So there's still a lot of work to be done in educating, even those of us in the U.S. about healthy nutrition, because the myplate.gov, I know I complain about this every week, but it's BS. So otherwise we would not have the situation that we do with obesity in America. So keep that in mind. I know I complain, but I just want people to be happy and healthy. So that's my frustration is, again, everything in moderation. The problem is moderation to most of us is daily, and that's just not appropriate. So some tips from me to you, again, having been through this with my family and myself, and for those of you that have not listened to anything, any of my stuff, by the way, you can go back through either YouTube and watch my channel, or you can go scroll back down through and see all the stuff I've done. I love to give you education. It's free. I'm just trying to help you understand the truth. So I don't know where I was going with that, but just some tips to help you get through this. Oh, I know what I was saying. So I've actually been on the very unhealthy end of things. My heaviest was 210 pounds, about 46% body fat, and I'm only I'm not even 5'3" anymore. I'm like 5'2.5". And now I'm somewhere between 120 something. I'm about 124 right now. To if I'm bulking, I might get up to 150, but my body doesn't like that, so I don't tend to do that very often, but I stay at a reasonable place. But I've been there. I had to go through the process of learning myself and then educating my family, and of course now it's all about balance depending on what's going on in our lives. Okay, so tips. Always have some healthy options around the house. One of the best ways to do that is to stock the fridge with good options, because that way if my kids are going, I'm hungry, I'm going to look in the fridge, and they're not going to find junk because there isn't any. Junk in our house is like an event, right? Like maybe at Thanksgiving we have some things that we wouldn't normally, because you know what? I love Thanksgiving. I'm going to eat whatever I want on Thanksgiving, but every other day of the year, my family has healthier options. We have a really great fridge with a whole drawer that's just fruits and vegetables and produce, and open it. It's got all kinds of great stuff: spinach, lettuce, peppers, apples. I mean, it's just full. So my kids know that if they tell me they're hungry, I'm going to be like, yeah, there's food in the fridge. And if I hear, well, I want Doritos, too bad, there aren't any. If you want them, walk down to the store and get them. And use your own money, right? So keep healthy snacks on hand, because of course kids get home from school. I don't know about you, but my kids have had years where they ate lunch at 10:40, which is ridiculousness. And not only that, they've only had like 20 minutes to eat their lunch. That's a little frustrating. And I no longer will allow my kids to have school lunch. We do more like bento box style, which I think is a great option. Get the little lunch boxes that have the little spots, and you can put some fresh fruits and vegetables, maybe a sandwich, but just definitely better, healthier options. It's completely unfortunate that the school options are very low quality when it comes to healthy food. The government still considers pizza as a vegetable, which I still don't understand, because that's just crap. So school lunches are not an option at my house. Now, granted, I get it if that's something that you have to utilize in your household. We've had to do that before when you have 5 kids, and not a lot of income at the time. I was a stay-at-home mom for a few years. That's the choice you have to make. Hey, Olivia. So I've been at all ends of the spectrum, but at this point, my kids know better. Even my older children in school will come home to eat, because it's just a healthier option. Or like me, they'll travel with a cooler in their car, which is great. Teach your kids to read labels. If you're trying to get your family involved, granted, there's only so much information you can glean from a nutrition label. You also have to look at the ingredient part, and be aware of what things mean. If it has a bunch of additives and preservatives, those are toxins, guys. That's why your body doesn't like them. And where does your body store toxins? Well, it's toxic, so it has to shove them away as quick as possible. It's going to store it in adipose tissue, which is fat, guys. So know what the different sugars are. There's like more than 70 words to describe sugars, and they're going to divide it all up so it seems like there's not as much. Beware of vegetable oil and trans fats and all this garbage that they're still putting in food. Your best bet, honestly, is to eat as clean as possible. If it is a processed food, just know what you're doing and know what you're looking at, what you're putting in your body, right? And make sure your kids know too, because then they can start to make healthier choices. And I'm going to leave that one in there right now. Be an example of being active. In this day and age, it's so easy to be sedentary, to play games or binge watch stuff on Netflix. So So you have to be a good example of getting out there and being active. When I was a kid, dude, I played in the dirt and loved it. They don't do that anymore. They don't get outside. So unless somebody is like really sports minded, sometimes I have to come up with ways to keep everybody active. Go to the trampoline place and jump for a while, or go to the pool during the summer. Just get outside and do something. But if you're not doing it, it's way likely that your kids aren't going to be willing to do it either. So you have to be a good example of that. Here's one that I think is really super important. Nobody knows how to cook anymore. And so the problem is everybody's doing a lot of fast food, going to eat out at restaurants, which, once in a while is okay. But if you're eating 80% of your food from outside of the house, that's not really great. So teach your kids to cook. Or if you aren't the greatest cook ever, go take a class together. I think the biggest problem in America with obesity is that nobody knows how to cook anymore. They're not teaching it in school, and what they are teaching is how to make cookies, which, so learn how to cook. It's some of those great, I watch Food Network all the time. I wish I had the creativity and the know-how that some of those chefs have, because they are able to create amazing flavors with really great food versus, eating Oreos and drinking Dr. Pepper, even Diet Dr. Pepper. That stuff's disgusting, you guys. So again, that's a great way to spend some time with your kids, learn something new, and bring some healthier options to the house. The other one is don't reward your kids with food, right? I get that there's comfort foods, right? When you were a kid, you fell down, so your parents went and bought you ice cream. Probably not a good association to have. I get that there are comfort foods, but don't reward your kids with food, because then, they're always going to be looking forward to the ice cream you're going to give them when they bring home A's. Part of that needs to be intrinsic, right? We should want to be excellent, at least at what we want to be good at. So it's kind of the wrong direction. I'm not saying that I don't ever reward myself with food. What I usually do is if I want something, I make myself earn it, right? But I don't reward myself every time I do well. If I were to have a great week and then reward myself with chocolate lava cake, that may undo everything I've done that week. Because once I start eating sugar, I really struggle to stop. So again, I know a little bit better how to take care of myself and to not do that. It's a great idea, like I said, offer your kids 2 healthier options versus, you can have anything in the store and then they fill it full of cold cereal, which is full of sugar, junk, Oreos, cookies. It's amazing how much food in the store. Stop shopping the inside of the shelves. Start shopping the outside where it's fresh produce, meats, and healthier options, because that's where they put everything that can expire. Versus all those shelf-stable foods, they're shelf-stable for a reason, guys. So again, keep that in mind. Make changes gradually. If you come home tomorrow and you're like, we are never going to eat sugar again, you're going to have a little bit of a rebellion on your hands. You likely aren't going to be able to keep up with that, but definitely your family's not going to be happy with that. But start changing things little by little. Add some more fresh fruits and vegetables to the dinners. You can hide vegetables and stuff pretty easy, and they won't even know. My kids actually don't mind being my taste testers, which is great, because that's why we try all the meals with Melissa with them, because if they don't like it, it's probably not a great option. Talked about reinventing school lunches. Help them to, give them some choices, but make them healthier choices. They're going to actually do better in school. And I know that there's conflicting information on whether or not sugar and additives and preservatives cause things like attention deficit disorder. I fully believe that because I think it affects gut health, and I think that once gut health gets off, I think that affects attention deficit disorder. Now, that's just my opinion from all the stuff that I've read. But, try it and see if that doesn't make a difference. Give your children healthier versions before a test, healthier foods, and see if that doesn't help them, especially if they're struggling. And then again, don't ban foods from the house, but help them make healthier choices. So hopefully that helps. I know that it's hard. I know that, as parents, we want the best for our kids, and as spouses, we want our significant other to look and feel good. But it's really difficult. You can't control other people. That's just not how it works. So help them by being a great example and supporting the choices, the healthier choices when they do make them, so that they know that you love them and you want the best for them. So have an incredible evening, you guys. I hope that helps. Leave a comment below or a question, something maybe that's worked for you in your household. You may also, if you have questions, message me directly through Facebook Messenger, but I get my best ideas from you. So if you have a question, please ask. It really helps me to know what you guys want to talk about. So have an incredible evening, you guys. And until next week, that is Q&A Wednesday. Have a good night.